Welcome, everyone, to this town hall meeting on the Fox 13 News Facebook page. We are coming to you live from the Fox 13 newsroom in Salt Lake City, Utah. My name is Bob Evans, and I am joined today by Fox 13 News investigative reporter Nate Carlisle, who heads up our I-team. This is News Literacy Week across the country, wherein we underscore the vital role of news literacy in a democracy and provide our audiences with the knowledge, tools, and abilities to become more news literate. We'll explain that term as we go along. News Literacy Week also aims to inspire news consumers, educators, and students to practice news literacy and to strengthen trust in the news media by reinforcing the role of credible journalism. News Literacy Week is presented by the EW Scripps Company, the owners of KSTU Fox 13. You can get a lot more information at fox13now.com and at newslit.org. This town hall is designed to not only inform you about how we go about gathering the news that you see on the air and online every day, but to give you a chance to learn how to gather the same information yourself. And we will, of course, be delighted to take your questions and comments about that along the way. We only ask that you be polite, direct, courteous, respectful, and to stay on topic. Now, before we begin, let's take a look at a public service announcement about News Literacy Week.
We're being flooded with false information. The more we mindlessly share, the more misinformation threatens us and puts our democracy at risk. But together, we can help protect our communities before it's too late. It's time to check our sources and verify our facts. Let's care before we share.
Now, talking about checking our sources and making sure our facts are straight, Fox 13 News investigative reporter Nate Carlisle joins us on this conversation. Nate, thanks for being here. This is a very, very important topic, isn't it?
It is. I mean, a lot of the emails I get from viewers, they say sometimes inherently misleading things in the emails, and they're not sending us reliable facts, and it's up to us reporters to have to sift through that to figure out what is truthful and what the public needs to know.
You know, Nate, one of the tools that we use here in the news media and here at Fox 13 is the GRAMA request and the Freedom of Information Act. Before we go too much further, let's take a look at a report that was filed just yesterday by Fox 13's April Baker about how we go about using and requesting information held by the government. Let's take a look at that.
We file what's known here in Utah as a GRAMA request. GRAMA stands for Government Records Access and Management Act. What you may or may not know is that you, the viewer, can use it too. And most times it's free to access. In fact, a big story that our investigative team broke came from a concerned parent who used this tool.
A Fox 13 News investigation has uncovered name-calling, insults, profanity, and general dysfunction within the Salt Lake City School Board.
A news story is not what Raina Williams thought she'd have on her hands when she started asking questions about what was happening within the Salt Lake City School District back in 2020. With 5 kids in the district, Raina began attending school board meetings to learn about their back-to-school plans during the pandemic. But instead of answers, she says she got inconsistent information.
I thought something's different, like the private discussion between the school board members and the superintendent is obviously very different than what they're telling us.
That's when Raina learned about GRAMA, which stands for Government Records Access Management Act. The GRAMA allows everyone the right to request records from government agencies in Utah through email, fax, U.S. mail, in person, or the Open Records portal. She says using it helped her gain access to text messages and emails exchanged among school board members. But Raina admits filing the request was the easy part.
The whole thing was not simple. It just opened a lot of issues and concerns with what they're not being transparent about.
She says it took her 3 months of hard work before she got anything substantial back, and it was very different than what she was expecting.
The information that was finally produced was so shocking and alarming. I couldn't just walk away from it.
Records show board members Nate Salazar and Sam Hansen exchanged at least 200 text messages, often complaining about parents or principals who disagree with their opinion, to keep students online.
She had all the information roaring and ready to go before I even picked up her first phone call.
Fox 13's investigative reporter Adam Herbetz worked with Raina to put her information on the news.
There are plenty of stories that we pursue that never end up on TV because the facts just aren't there.
Herbetz believes the grandma process would be more effective if more people knew they could access it.
I think if the government was very forthcoming about the fact that we have records that you're entitled to look at, then more people would do it.
Grandma is one of the easier systems to use.
Jean Norman is a member of the Society of Professional Journalists and teaches multimedia journalism at Weber State University. She says Utah offers more support for public records requests than other states, where you'll likely need to hire an attorney. Ultimately, she says this simplifies the process that journalists and citizens must go through to access the same information.
You don't have to have a license to be a journalist. You just have to be curious. You have to be willing to set your own biases aside and try to look at things objectively.
Was it worth it in the end?
I do. I feel like there is more transparency now after all of that from the majority of the school board members.
And if you're interested in filing a grandma request and or need help with it, our I-team is always happy to help you out. We'll provide a link where you can reach them, as well as other resources that'll help you learn about grandma on fox13now.com.
All right, so we've been able to watch April Baker's piece on the grandma request and how we go about gathering the news. Nate, I have to speak from a viewer's standpoint that it can be daunting and maybe intimidating to think that that we go after gathering information in such a prescribed way. But the truth is, anybody can do that.
Yes, anyone can do it. But you're right. Nonetheless, Bob, it is kind of daunting. And, a lot of the tips we get in the I-team, it's really just people that can't figure out how to navigate a bureaucracy, whether you're requesting public records or they want to file a complaint against, a company or they have some grievance against the government. They're not sure how to go about the paperwork. And I'm going to give a presentation here if we're ready now. I call it, about the Freedom of Information Act, or how I learned to love paperwork, because it's paperwork. It's basically learning how to submit these requests. So let's go through this. The Freedom of Information Act is it's actually a federal act. Congress created this back in, I think, the 60s to find out what's happening at the executive branch agencies. If we can move on to the next slide, Jeff. So let's get our terms straight here. So the Freedom of Information Act is a federal law. It's got the acronym FOIA, and sometimes we use FOIA kind of generally, kind of like in the South, all soda's Coke. We sometimes use FOIA as this umbrella term for public records. Other shorthands for public records can be just public records request, open records request, sunshine request. They can all mean the same thing. And then each state has its own public records law, and it may have a unique name. As you heard in that piece from April, in Utah, we call it grandma. In Colorado, it's Cora. In New Jersey, it's OPRA, Open Public Records Act. But let's start by talking about the Federal Freedom of Information Act. Again, it's enshrined by Congress, and you can see the statute there. but it gives you a right of access to existing records held by the executive branch agency. So I cannot send a FOIA to my congressman. I cannot send a FOIA to the Supreme Court or any federal judge. It only applies to executive branch agencies. So, like the Department of Defense, the Department of Justice, Department of the Interior, and then, all the agencies underneath there. You can see on this slide, this is an example of a FOIA request I sent the United States Army here just the other day, trying to get some information about a soldier's death, actually. And I sent it to a specific agency within the U.S. Army. And we're going to talk a little bit here as well about to make sure you send your request to the right place. If we can go next, there you go. So what can you request? Let's talk about this a little more. So records that already exist, such as they can be paper records, electronic records, emails. If an agency does keep it on film or computer tapes, photographs are considered records, documents. Think about anything they might have in a file cabinet or on a computer hard drive. It's basically the kind of thing you can request. So some real world examples here. Pay and spending records, contracts that the government enters into, inspection reports. So like every once in a while you hear about, some restaurant that failed a health inspection. That's a government record. That's how journalists know about that restaurant inspection. Correspondence between government or with the government. We saw again that story that April talked about. That was correspondence among school board members. Discipline records. So if often if a public employee is disciplined some way, you can have access to those records. Licenses, like I'm not talking about driver's license; those are typically not public records. But like if you have a professional license, like I can look up make sure my doctor is licensed. Permits, so like building permits, hunting permits, stuff like that are typically public records. Police reports are public record typically if the case is closed. So let's say at any given time there's who knows how many unsolved homicides in Salt Lake City. I'm not going to be able to get reports typically on an unsolved homicide, but if I'm involved in a traffic crash and a police officer took a report, I can get the report later to submit to my insurance company. That's a pretty typical public document for people interacting with the police. One important note is you can't ask an agency to create a record. So let's say I want to find out how many rats are in Salt Lake City. Unless Salt Lake City already does some kind of census of rats in the city, I'm not going to be able to get that information from Salt Lake City. I can't send Salt Lake City a request saying, count the number of rats in town. Okay. They're not going to do that. That would be creating a record. And
Nate, let me stop you right here, because one of the things that I have always wondered is when we request information from these agencies in the executive branch, how do we know that they aren't withholding information that is rightfully ours as the public?
That's always a concern. It is quite a bit on the honor system, but there are avenues to basically tell the government agency, hey, I think you have these records. Let's search again. And we're going to get to that in a few minutes in the appeal process. My advice on that would be, if you think the government has the record, and they tell you they don't, be prepared to argue with them about it and tell them to search again. The other thing is if you think someone else has the record, like a private citizen or lawyer or something like that, call that person and ask them if they don't have the record. Maybe they at least can confirm for you it exists and they saw it, and you can use that as leverage when it's time to appeal.
If they actually do have the record and then tell you that it doesn't exist or that they don't have it or deceive you in some way, is there any kind of a penalty that they face if they do that?
Yeah, but not much of one. It doesn't. I mean, this is one of the problems with both FOIA and grandma in Utah. There's not much teeth in the law if the government really wants to hide the ball and just flat out lie to you that the record doesn't exist. For what it's worth, I've encountered very few scenarios where I thought the government outright lied to me about the existence of a record. I've had lots of disputes over whether I am entitled to see the record. And occasionally the government will say they can't find it, and I have to basically help them figure out where it is. But outright lying about it, for what it's worth, I haven't run into that many times.
All right. Let's move on with the rest of the presentation.
Okay. So again, making the request here. So there's pretty much 3 requirements, whether you're talking about FOIA or GRAMA or any state records. It's got to be in writing. I can't just call up a government agency under the law and say, hey, send me over a report on this or that. They need something in writing. And then you're supposed to be kind of following the applicable regulations, meaning like and we're going to talk about this a little later, some government agencies want you to fill out a specific form. So you have to fill out the specific form to do that. And also you're supposed to send the request to the right person. Like, let's say I want something out of Utah state government. I'm not really supposed to just send it to Governor Cox, right? I'm supposed to send it to the designated records agent at that particular agency. So here we got an example. This is a grandma request I sent Moab here in, I think, November. And it was related to their police chief who was on leave at the time. And but I had seen on social media he was tweeting about working his second job as a photographer. And I looked up in the employee handbook for Moab what the policies were on that. And he was supposed to submit what they called a secondary employment declaration. So I asked Moab here for the documents, and I cite the employee handbook sections where it talks about what the chief was supposed to submit. I asked for that documentation. I asked for records describing the permission Chief Edge had to work while he was on leave. And then I asked for records of what he was being paid while he was on leave. Now, the city said they didn't have the first 2 items, meaning Edge never submitted any documentation for his outside job. So in this case, the absence of records was the story here. But then also they did send me his pay records, and I could see that he was actually on sick time while he's working his outside job. And there's city policies against that, just like most of us would. I mean, here at Fox 13, they'd be pretty mad if I was taking sick time and I was out working a second job. And maybe you guys saw just this week, it was announced that Moab is now looking for a new police chief. That's an example of a request I submitted recently.
Actually I do, Nate, because to some people in our viewership and some people in society, if they saw the story about Brett Edge, I guess it was last week, wasn't it, that we ran that story, they might be saying, so what? Why are you causing trouble for this guy who just happened to be the police chief? And it just seems like you're going after people that, otherwise aren't really bad people at all. I mean, how do you respond to folks that say that?
A couple things. First of all, this was taxpayer money. Remember, we're ultimately talking about, the taxpayers are paying him for sick time, which would be, fine. But, there's policies in place that you're not supposed to be working a second job if you're taking sick time. So, again, he was collecting taxpayer money while he's working a second job. The other thing is, in the case of Moab, there's another context here that there've been a lot of problems with that police department. We've done multiple stories on them this year, and a lot of those problems revolve around not following policies. And especially for police, that can cause problems down the line because these guys have to get on a witness stand and explain to a judge and jury, how they were supposed to follow policy when they were arresting somebody or conducting a search of the property or something like that. And if they don't reliably follow policy, that doesn't look good to a jury, and people who might otherwise be guilty could go free. And this is somewhat true for other agencies too. I mean, the government is supposed to be consistent in how it applies the law. And policy violations are a big problem in government if it's allowed to continue.
You bring up an interesting point, because when we're talking about policies, it's one thing, but talking about crime is another. But I think there is an overlap here where I think most people are familiar with the broken window principle, where if you don't pay attention to the broken windows, or rather the smaller infractions, whether it's crime or otherwise, policy infractions, then all of a sudden you watch a huge problem develop in whatever area you're talking about. And I think that is one of the main points. I mean, we live in a nation of laws, and if we don't follow the laws, then all kinds of problems creep up.
That can be correct. And again, that's especially true for police, because again, they're under scrutiny every time they have to sit on a witness stand and tell a jury what happened.
Well, yeah, and they're dealing with life and death situations, not only for themselves, but for us and the general public as well. So, yeah, following policy is extremely important, and so my hat's off to you for running this down. The other thing that strikes me is the amount of time that it took for those records to finally come back to you. I mean, that story, we aired it last week. You started this process back in November.
That's right. And I actually talk about that in a little bit too, about how quickly the government's supposed to respond and what you do if they don't respond. So when we're ready to go back to the presentation here, we'll get to that.
Okay, go right ahead.
We can go to the next slide now. Okay, a little more on making the request. Again, try to be as specific as you can. I'll give you an example from the newsroom here. We got a reporter in the newsroom I was helping this week and last week with a FOIA issue, and he wanted some records about a search in Yellowstone National Park for a person from Utah who went missing. Well, of course, National Park Service is a huge agency, and it's under the umbrella of the Department of the Interior. So if we were to have sent the Department of Interior headquarters in Washington, D.C., a request for all reports on Mr. Utah that went missing, they would look at that request in DC and say, who is this guy from Utah? We don't know anything about this. So instead, we sent the request to, it's actually the regional office for the National Park Service in Denver. And we specified in the request that we want reports from Yellowstone National Park about this search and rescue effort. Same thing, I had to file a request this week for records held by a specific agency within the Utah Department of Public Safety. So I sent the request I did send it to Department of Public Safety headquarters, but I told them, look in the records of this particular division where the records exist. And you can find, local level examples of this too. So try to be as specific as you can about where you think the records exist. This is talking about how quickly the government has to respond. So under the FOIA, federal FOIA, the agencies are supposed to respond within 20 working days. Grandma, it's 10 working days. Of course, working means, business days. But here's a couple catches on that. First of all, that doesn't mean they have to supply the documents. That just means they basically have to acknowledge the request. Yes, we got your request. We'll start working on it. And you can hear some FOIA horror stories about, people waiting literally decades for records sometimes. But what you do is you should always ask for expedited processing. And there's a couple ways you can do that. You specifically say in your request, please expedite my request. Another way to say this is to please ask that it be put in the simple track or the simple queue. And what that means is that, especially with the federal agencies, big federal agencies, they typically divide requests into three categories. Simple, meaning, it's just a couple pages. We know where they are. Medium, which could be hundreds of pages of records, and then large requests, which could be literally thousands of pages of records. But even like if it's ostensibly, a large request, you can still ask to be put in the simple track if you tell them specifically what you're looking for. And the federal agencies especially tend to be processing the simple requests first and get to the large ones later. So if you can get yourself into the simple queue or simple track, you're going to get your records a lot faster. And then you can also ask the government to release the records on what's called a rolling basis, meaning they release records to you kind of maybe one at a time as they're processed and ready, rather than waiting till the entire request is complete. If the deadlines do pass with no response, follow up and ask what's the status of my request, stuff like that. I was doing that with Moab. Can you please tell me what's happened to my request? I was doing that pretty much all through the month of December with Moab, trying to get those records about the police chief. And some of it's squeaky wheel theory that they'll put grease on you if you keep pestering them. But then also cite the law, so you're supposed to give me records and so on and so forth and things like that. Let's see if we go to the next slide. Oh, we still here?
Yeah. We're going to the next slide.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There we go.
Okay. Well, it's, real quickly talk about fees. So the agencies can charge reasonable fees for the cost of searching and copying, but you should always ask that your fees be waived, or in the alternative, that you be notified in advance if the agency intends to apply fees. Years ago, I requested some records from a county here in Utah, and I asked for a fee waiver, but I didn't put in that second part saying that, if you do intend to apply fees, notify me in advance. And one day I got a big box of documents delivered to the newsroom with a bill for $1,100. That was a fun conversation with my bosses.
What happened? I mean, did they ultimately waive the fee, or did you wind up having to pay it?
Well, I think we talked them down to $300
from $1,100.
From $1,100.
Well, as long as we're talking about this right now, let me ask you then, what is the fee structure based, number one, and number two, aren't these folks getting paid by the government anyway to be doing their jobs, and isn't this part of their jobs? Why are they charging a fee in the first place?
I should record what you just said and play it next time someone wants to charge me fees, Bob. Yes. The rationale behind charging for fees is that you're extracting more effort out of the government to fulfill your request. If it's a simple request, one police report or something like that, one inspection report, the government's probably not going to charge you. On bigger requests, they might try to charge you. I had the FBI try to charge me years ago for some Josh and Susan Powell reports, for example, because it supposedly took them time to go through the system and figure out what was there and what they can release and stuff like that. But there's a few things you can do. First of all, if you're any kind of a journalist, I'm talking even down to high school newspapers, you've got a little more ammunition to ask for a fee waiver. Explain this is in the public interest and that you'd like the fee waived. If you're kind of an average, if you're not a journalist and an average citizen, so to speak, you can still ask for a fee waiver, especially if the record concerns you. Let's use the example of police reports. If you're the victim in the police report, explain that on your request, that your rights are being impacted with this report, and they'll typically waive the fees for you. Or let's just say you're trying to learn about something that's in the public interest, like that lady in the story that April produced. She was trying to find out what was going on with her school board. I don't know if the school district tried to charge her fees, but she had an argument that this was a topic in the public interest, what's going on at the school board, and they should try to not charge her fees. So just make an argument.
Let me stop you here and ask, who is more likely to get a fee waiver? A deep pockets journalism company like EW Scripps, who owns Fox 13, or Joe and Mary Sprite Can, who just looking for information on themselves, or just looking for information? Who's more likely to get the fee waiver?
Actually, probably the journalist, because a lot of times, this is true in Utah and the Federal Freedom of Information Act too. There's specific provisions in there giving preference to fee waivers for journalists. Now, again, Bob, your average citizens that you just talked about, if the records concern them or about them, the law probably entitles them to some fee waivers or at least discounts as well. It's unrelated third parties that are probably the most likely to be charged fees.
Let me remind our viewers here that we are in a town hall meeting for News Literacy Week here on the Fox 13 News Facebook page. We are presenting to you the ways that we go about gathering news and information that we present on the air every day and put online in our news stories. And we are hoping that this will be informational not only to you, but inspirational as well, so that you can go about gathering information just like we do. You have every right to do that, just like we do. As Gene Norman pointed out from the Society of Professional Journalists, to be a journalist does not require a license in this country. And so if you are hoping to gather information for whatever reason, you can go about doing it. And hopefully what Nate is presenting to you right now will be helpful in not only inspiring you to take action, but what actions to take. Now, we also want to remind you that we'd love to be able to take your questions and your comments. And just feel free to put them in the comment section below, and we will try to get to as many of those questions as possible. Nate, back to the presentation.
Okay, and we're going to wrap this up pretty quickly. So what to do if you are denied? Well, okay, submitting the request. Yeah, you can find typically with on government websites where you send the request. And also there's some specific portals for the federal government, foiaonline.gov, openrecords.utah.gov, and you can typically find out there how to submit the request. If you are denied, and that includes, minor redactions, if you're denied in any part, the government's supposed to supply appeal instructions, who to send the appeal to, where they are, and a deadline to. And in Utah, it's typically a 30-day deadline. The feds, it can be 60 days. But it's typically a department head or maybe chief executive, or, if it's a town, maybe it's the mayor or city manager. And then under grandma, we're talking about just Utah. If you lose the first appeal, you can file a new appeal with the State Records Committee, which is a body that now meets out in Taylorsville in a state office building. Your appeals don't need to be fancy. You can literally just send something to the government telling them to please reconsider, please do it again, ask for what's called a de novo review. That's a Latin term that's used here in American law that basically means do it again or take a fresh look at it, like that. You don't have to write your own, legal brief and be your own lawyer for your appeal. Utah actually has the best appeal system in the country, in my estimation. Most states, if you get denied, your only recourse is to sue in state court, which can really be costly. You can also appeal fees. If someone does try to charge you, you can appeal that. Ask to, same way you could appeal the denial of the record itself. And if you lose all your appeals, you can still file a lawsuit. It'd be federal court for FOIA, of course, state court for grandma. I talked a moment ago about the State Records Committee. There's kind of a catch there. If you lose at the even if you win at the State Records Committee, the agency can sue you and take you to state court over. And technically, they sue the State Records Committee, but you'd be the one that would be required to answer. You wouldn't have to defend the case if you don't want to hire your own lawyer and fight it, but that also means you wouldn't get the records.
Would you wind up having to pay a penalty of some kind if you lose that case?
Like a penalty that the government?
Well, if you lose the appeal, and they're not going to come after you for asking for records that they don't wind up having to give you?
Probably not. I mean, if especially if you got a favorable ruling at the State Records Committee, that would probably negate any claim of like a frivolous lawsuit or something like that. So I don't think I don't see how the government could pursue you for any kind of fees at that point. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but that's my experience. I've never heard of that happening with grandma in Utah. Let's put it that way.
Okay, sorry to interrupt the
That's all right. Which I think, okay, a few other resources. There's a National Freedom of Information Coalition and Reporters for Committee of the Press. Here in Utah, we've got a grandma ombudsman. Her name is Rosemary Cundiff. She works over at the state archives, and she's kind of a referee. So, if you call her up and ask for help, she might tell you, that you're wrong. On the other hand, she might tell you the other side is wrong too. So, that she's not an advocate. She's more of a referee. But that's it. We want to go to the last slide. Yeah, go get them, guys. If there's something you really want to know out of the government, go ahead and submit your request. And that's it. If we got time for questions,
in fact, let's start getting to questions. Holly Barlow has a great question, and that is, can you do a grandma request on a specific teacher of a school pertaining to previous write-ups and disciplinary action? Can you go after someone specifically like that?
I wouldn't use the phrase go after, but yes, you can request a discipline record of any public employee in Utah. Now, and there's a specific statute on that saying that discipline that is adjudicated, meaning, it's done, all the paperwork's finalized and stuff like that, is a public record. Yes.
All right. One of the things that has been, and we want to encourage everybody who is on this town hall meeting, if you have a question, now would be the time to ask it, because Nate, as you can see, is not only an expert in all of this, but this is a marvelous opportunity to be able to kind of talk back to the news and get information on the whys and wherefores and how do we go about getting the information that we broadcast. And so now would be the time to put your questions down in the comment box so that we can get to those questions. One of the things, Nate, that has been kind of running through my head through this entire town hall meeting is how in the First Amendment, we are guaranteed the freedom of speech and freedom of the press, and they're guaranteed that Congress won't pass any laws that abridge those freedoms. That right there is an incredibly useful and liberating principle that does not exist in every country in the world. And here in the United States, we are unique in being able to have a free flow of information, because as you know, information is power, and the more information we have, the better decisions we make. Can you kind of give us your perspective on how important the free flow of information is, and whether that's information that information that flows from the government, information that flows to the government, and the information that we share with our viewers and the public?
Yeah, I mean, a few years ago, I think it was the Dallas Morning News during Sunshine Week, that's every March, they printed up kind of a mock front page, but they and this didn't actually land on doorsteps or anything, but they put it online as an example. They redacted all the stories on the front page that came from some kind of government documents, relied on getting some information from the government, and which basically just left basically like a Dallas Cowboys story on the front page, and that was it. Everything else was blacked out. So that's how reliant we are in this country on finding out what the government's doing, or I should say the rights we have in this country in terms of finding out what the government is doing. I teach an investigative reporting class at the University of Utah, and a couple of years ago, I had two journalists from Turkey speak to my class about what was happening in that country, that the regime there has been cracking down on independent journalists, and they're also, basically it's just government news coming out of Turkey now, and some of the best reporting on Turkey is now being done by some expats outside the country, people that are in other countries seeking political asylum.
Let's go back to some of the questions, and thank you for submitting your questions. Gregory Roberson sent in a question. Can we take care of court problems all at once instead of separately? It gets costly to erase, and why does it stay on the record?
Sounds like he's asking about expungements, which is
kind of off topic a little bit here.
Well, it is. I will actually. I mean, I don't have any advice on how to get your records expunged here. I will say that expungements comes up in the context of grandma sometimes, because I've filed requests for old police reports, and I'm told I can't have them because the defendant had the record expunged. So even if the government retains it now, it's not supposed to be distributed to the public. That actually happened a little bit with the Mackenzie Lewick homicide suspect. He'd had some kind of relatively minor matter up in Cache County. I forget now what it was. And I was trying to find out more about it, and I couldn't get the records because he'd had the conviction expunged.
Okay. Gregory, thank you for that question. Jackie Warren asks, how do I get DCFS reports on my grandson when the case wasn't against me, but he is the victim and I am his guardian? How do you use grandma to do that?
Okay. I'm glad she said that last part, that she's the guardian, because if that weren't the case, Jackie'd be up the creek without the paddle, so to speak. But if she's the guardian of the child, and she's, wants some DCFS records, go ahead and file your request, and be sure to specify in your request that you are the guardian of the child in question, because DCFS records, a lot of them are in those categories of the general public and journalists like me cannot have them, but the child, or in this case, the guardian of the child that are subject of the records would probably be entitled to them, or entitled to more of them than I could get, for example.
That's a great question, Jackie. Thank you for that question. We are winding down just a little bit, unless we get a flood of more questions. We're going to wind down here on this town hall meeting on News Literacy Week that is brought to us by the EW Scripps Company, which owns Fox 13. Patricia Smewen is, would you be able to access that paperwork? I'm not sure what you're talking about, the paperwork there, Patricia, if you want to clarify real quickly. Nate, as we're winding down, talk to me a little bit about the mindset that you have to put yourself in when you are when you're trying to gain information and gather information about whatever particular story you're gathering it. Talk to me about that mindset that you have to be in to have the patience to do what you do.
First day in my investigative reporting class when the new semester starts at the University of Utah is I talk about the document state of mind, that just about everything the government does, it creates some kind of document, even if it's just sending a snowplow up State Street. There's got to be some kind of documentation that was done. So you think to yourself, okay, I want to know more about this particular government action or activity. What documents exist explaining that or documenting that, and then you start requesting those documents.
For people who watch the news and are immediately skeptical about everything they see on the news, talk to me about what that does to you as a journalist who pours so much of your life into gathering facts and figures and data and information. And then when we present it on the news or online, it's met with a criticism that it's all false, it's all ridiculous, it's all a bunch of lies.
Yeah, I for one don't mind viewer skepticism so much, unless of course I have the documents to prove it. No, prove what I'm talking about. And that's why when we get on camera, sometimes we shake documents in front of the camera and stuff like that. We're trying to demonstrate. Look, we can demonstrate this. We've got the evidence here, and that's what we're talking about here with FOIA and Grandma, ways to pacify that viewer skepticism.
And finally, as we are winding up here, Nate, we've given our viewers and our friends on Facebook a lot of information today. You've had an excellent presentation. Now that they are informed, what do they do? What is their first step? How do they move forward in this process?
Well, like the lady asking about DCFS records, she should get online. She can go to, again, the Open Records portal for state government and look up how to send a records request to the Department of Child and Family Services. Really just got to, do your own research about where the records request should go and go ahead and send it off in the manner I've described here.
As we wind down, and I know I keep go ahead.
Well, it's if you find the Grandma Ombudsman's webpage, she's got some kind of templates and standardized forms on there, and you can use that to submit to your records request. Yeah, so archives.utah.gov, and you can that's kind of the main page, and then you can find the Grandma Ombudsman from there.
And what's her name again?
Her name's Rosemary Cundiff.
Rosemary Cundiff. Okay. If you're searching for records, she could become your best friend.
Maybe.
Well, Nate, thank you so much for taking time with us today. And thank you, our Facebook friends, for tuning in and listening to this discussion on this town hall meeting. I just want to remind everyone that we live in an age now where anybody can say anything at any time about anything on just about any platform and create an audience. And a lot of times we wind up inundated with voices and the cacophony of voices of people saying whatever they want to say. And sometimes it's backed up by fact and it's absolutely true. Hopefully, most of the time it is. But there are plenty of examples and plenty of times and instances where the information being put out there is not correct and it is distorted and at best and perhaps at worst just an outright lie. And so because of the social media influence in our lives now and the presence of people being able to say everything they want to say and anything they want to say, never in the history of our country has it been more important for us to have a reliable source of information that we can trust, that we know that due diligence has been done, and that journalistic integrity has been applied to the gathering of the information and the presenting of it. That is so critical now when there are so many different voices out there. We hope that some of the information that we've been able to present to you in this town hall meeting today will move the ball down the court for you in not only being able to identify credible journalism, but to also be able to go through the process yourself, submit grammar requests and Freedom of Information Act requests so that the government can be held accountable. That is the only way that we as Americans and we as Utahns can move forward with confidence and know that the people that we elect to our government positions and those folks who work for the government are actually working in the public interest. It's critical that we educate ourselves on not only the facts, but also the ways that we go about gathering those facts and the data that is so critically important in this information age. And so, again, Nate, as we wind up, any closing comments from you?
I think you put it pretty well, Bob. And I'll just kind of say something I alluded to earlier, that I think one thing that discourages people from filing this request is the human fear of paperwork. But if you can overcome your fear of paperwork and bureaucracy, you can file some records request and get some results.
All right. Well, Nate Carlisle, the head of the investigative team here at Fox 13 News, thank you so much for preparing the information that you did today and sharing your incredible insight and knowledge about gathering information. And thank you, our Facebook friends, for joining us for this town hall meeting. We hope that it has been useful and helpful to you, and encourage you to continue to improve your news literacy, not just this week during News Literacy Week, but every week and every day. Be discerning and skeptical, and follow the same principles that we in the journalism profession follow to gather the information that is so critical in your life. Thanks again for joining us. I'm Bob Evans, Fox 13 News. Have a great day.